Now, the type of chord voicings we use to play jazz standards can vary in many ways, and it comes down to a question of how many notes do we want. Most of the time we're playing 4-note chords. Doesn't mean we have to play 4 notes though. But if, let's take those 4 notes, you could play them as drop 2, where you've got 4 notes on consecutive strings. You could do drop 3, where you have the bass note, miss a string, and then you have the other 3 notes. You could have drop 2 and 4 2. Most of the time we're trying to find chords that have 4 notes in them. That doesn't mean though that we need to play 4 notes. And those 4-note chords typically contain a root, 3rd, 5th and 7th. And I think for a lot of people when they get into jazz, you move from playing like, A minor 7, you might do as a bar chord with 6 strings, and then suddenly you're reducing that. Quite often as you progress more, you might end up reducing that even more from 6 strings to just 4, and then maybe 3 or even 2. And one of the things that I think is nice to practice is just playing 3-note voicings that just include the root, 3rd and 7th. It might even be better, I think, for people when they're starting out playing jazz to play 3-note voicings. Here's 2 reasons why I think so. They're easier to fret as there's 1 less note to play. Obviously that does bring in considerations for how you mute the other 3 strings, but there's less going on in terms of the actual fingers you need. The second reason I think is really important and makes this advantageous is by getting rid of the 5th, we get more used to the sound of the important notes, which is the 3rd and the 7th. And it helps you hear the harmony of the song more readily. If I've got a 4-note chord, I personally, rank them in terms of interest and importance. 3rd, 7th, root, 5th. So we're going to learn a tune today. We're going to learn Fly Me to the Moon with 3-note voicings. So here's the first chord, A minor 7. And on the diagrams, I've labelled, what the notes are, what the intervals are. So you want to pick that up too. A, G, C, 1, 7, 3, A minor 7. And that's a movable shape. A minor 7 off the A string. Same sound, listen. Now let's do D minor 7. So I could use the same shape, move it to fret 5, where D is the root on the A string. Off the E string, fret 10. Same as that first shape we did. And then G7. I like this 3-note voicing. That's actually going 1, 3, 7. Could also do this, but I prefer that. G7 off the E string, 3 notes, just there. C major 7. That's off the A string and then off the E string. C dominant 7th, we could do like this, or the triangle. That's the same as the G7 I showed you. And up here. Good always to know it off the E and the A, then you've got a near place hopefully to go to. F major 7 could do off the E string here, maybe a bit muddy, and off the A string up here. And really, that's covered so far, what, minor 7, dominant 7th, major 7, so 3 of the big chord types. Here's the minor 7 flat 5 chords you're going to need to play the song. B minor 7 flat 5 off the A string. And off the E string, we're going to need E7 off the A string, A7 off the E string, and E minor 7 flat 5. You may have noticed I've omitted the minor 7 flat 5 chord in these 3-note voicings. Now you could do a minor 7 flat 5 chord without the 5th. But for me, that note's an important note in that chord. That's where the 5th has a real purpose and place. So I don't tend to play those as 3-note voicings. You could, and you just take out that 5th, and it would just say B minor 7 flat 5 or E minor 7 flat 5 would just be E minor 7 or B minor 7. And if you were playing with a bass player, it might not be a problem doing that because they'll probably pick out that flat 5. On to Fly Me to the Moon. It's a 32-bar jazz standard written by Bart Howard, and it's a song that goes exactly where you think it's going to go, in my opinion. Interesting fact about this song, it was originally written in 3/4. I think it was Sinatra's big famous version with Basie that led to it being popularised in 4/4. Now, check the description for a link to the PDF of the chord shapes and the chart. You can grab those at my website. Here's the first half of the tune, the first 16 bars. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. takes us to halfway through the tune. The second half of the tune is very similar, but I've moved some of the chords around so you get used to the shapes in different places. So let's start the A minor 7, but on fret 12 instead of down here, so you just get used to them. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. We're back to A minor 7 to go around again. Now here's a good way to practice this. Don't worry about playing it in time to start with. Just play it at a time and arpeggiate the notes to go. I'm emphasizing the top note. In most of the cases it's the third. Not in every one, not in that last one it's the seventh, but in most of them it's a third, so that's good to help us really hear the important note. So give this tune a go, but don't just play those shapes blindly not knowing what they are. I've written on those chord diagrams what the notes are and which one's the root, which one's the third and which one's the seventh. If you're just playing shapes, you're really not helping your long-term progression. Just one word of warning, not every chord has a seventh, so you can't necessarily do this with every chord. But let's say we had a major 6 chord, say C major 6. So C major 7 would be C, E, G, B. If we played that as 1, 3, 7, we'd have C, E, B. So if you want C6 in a 3-note voicing, you can play C, E, A. So you'd have to adapt to other chord types, but I'm sure you can get your head around that as you get used to this. Earlier I said about the importance of knowing the notes in your chords. If that's something you need to get together, then here's a video on the screen that can help you with that. It's so important thing to kind of progress with beyond just playing shapes. And thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget jazz guitar lessons every Wednesday and Saturday from me, Andy. Thank you for all your comments, hitting that like button. All long-term subscribers, recent subscribers, thank you so much for your support of the channel. Until next time, you take care.